Okay, is this cool? Okay, so my name is Clark. I managed to interview a CEO. That isn't really something you'd hear every day. I managed to interview David Richards, the CEO and founder of WANdisco, and the co-founder of the David and Jane Richards Family Foundation. This guy has been running a course at my school. It's called the Big Data Project, which tries to get teens like me into more advanced computer science education. So yeah, here's our chat. Hi, we're with David Richards from WANdisco and the David and Jane Foundation, if I'm right. Is that the name of the company?
It's the David and Jane Richards Family Foundation. I am the co-founder and CEO of WANdisco, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for coming. We both have one thing in common, and we're both from Sheffield. So what is one of your most memorable places in Sheffield? Like, one of your childhood favourite places?
Well, I think probably two. We actually have two things in common because I also went to Tapton School as well.
Yeah.
So I grew up around the Crosspool area, so I remember Crosspool and playing football in Coldwell Lane, and where I grew up. And then the second place is Hillsborough and the football ground at Hillsborough, because I'm a big Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Yeah, I never really liked football. Like in my entire childhood, I just saw it as like some kind of sport where you just kick around the ball, and I never really liked sports. But yeah, at the moment we're currently taking our GCSEs. Well, no, we're not taking it, but we're like choosing our options. So what did you take for your GCSEs?
So I did maths, English, economics, and a whole raft of geography from the top of my head. I took a broad spectrum of subjects. I did O-levels. They were just turning into GCSEs when I did them, and they were probably pretty hard exams. Actually, I seem to remember at the time. It was all down to a single examination at the very end. But I did a broad spectrum of subjects. I'd recommend everybody to do a broad spectrum, as broad a spectrum as you possibly can.
Did you regret doing any of those subjects?
No, not really. I remember the economics syllabus. It taught lots of interesting things that I'd never really learned before. I'm a big advocate of doing as many different things as you possibly can, and I think it's a great pity when people are excluded from certain subjects because they weren't able to take them. I mean, you should do the arts and sciences as much as you possibly can.
Okay. So you're currently in a job which is based around technology and data. Did anything in your childhood push you to technology?
Well, actually, I was completely unsure what I was going to do after I did my A-levels here at Tapton, and the head of the sixth form was a guy called David Jackson, and he was made famous actually because he was Sebastian Coe's favourite teacher when he was here. And I came into the school after a year. I took a year off, and I said, I just don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And he said, go and study computing. And I did. And that is actually how I got into computer science for the first time. Ironically, a good friend of mine, also John Kenworthy, also went to this school, and he did exactly the same thing. And Dave Jackson told him to go and be a lawyer. And he's now a partner at DLA Piper. So he was pretty good at spotting what people should and shouldn't do. So I'd love to say it was this big epiphany, but actually it was a very knowledgeable school teacher.
Did you really enjoy it? Like, did you really enjoy computer science, even though you were actually just told to?
Very much so. I really excelled at that, and I really got a great interest in it. And I was more interested in the possibilities that computing and computer science would bring, rather than just learning it for its sake. And with the nouveau in computer science around machine learning and artificial intelligence, there are lots of interesting possibilities for children there as well.
But what kind of student were you? Like, were you the silent student, or were you like the student that was very naughty and would shout in class a lot and stuff?
So I think I was I called myself a pretty average student. I got a good memory, so I could do exams and all that pretty well. But I was not that interested in the sort of traditional subject matter. And though this isn't a particularly good thing to say in a school, but I was more interested in much bigger ideas. So when I was supposed to be doing revision for exams and O-levels and A-levels and things, I used to go down to the library and just read interesting books about things that had got nothing to do with the subjects that I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. So there's, I think people in my position would probably tell you a lot of the same stories. So I was not that interested in the sort of traditional education. I wanted a much broader spectrum of subjects.
So yeah, you currently own WANdisco, and you and because of Wikipedia, I searched you up and saw that you owned a couple of other businesses before that. So what were your previous businesses, and what were your biggest mistakes?
The previous businesses were also enterprise technology businesses in Silicon Valley. The last one was acquired by a public company. And the one before that was acquired. It was called Insevo. That was acquired as well. The biggest mistakes were taking investment too early, and when that happens, then you lose control of the business. At WANdisco, we didn't do that, so we kept the company private and self-funded for 7 years, and then in 2012 we went public on the London Stock Exchange, and that was a much better method of running a business, I felt.
Okay. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs, so people starting new businesses?
So a lot of people ask me this question, and it's, for example, really hard to be the CEO of a technology business without having a really solid technology background. So my advice is to get a skill first. Because if you've got entrepreneurial skills, you've got entrepreneurial skills. But to really start a business in a field, whether it's going to be in quantum computing or artificial intelligence or any of the new sciences that are being made available to people, then it's really important that you have a proper skill, first of all, that you can prove that you can do the job just as well, if not better than anybody else. And then people will follow you. Because to be an entrepreneur, you need more than just entrepreneurial skills. You need people skills, but you actually need an underlying.
Yeah.
I know computer science, not as well as I used to, but I'm a computer scientist, and I also have business skills as well. So it's important to get that spectrum so you can actually do the underlying job as well.
So Google, they've had several memos from employees saying that they don't agree with women working in technology. So what is your stance in women in tech?
So I think a number of companies have, I know Google's policy on female employees is not bad, actually. They're a pretty good employer of equal opportunity employer for both men and women. So we take great pride in the most senior person in our Sheffield office is a lady, May Lam, who is based here in Sheffield. We have women in senior management positions inside the company, and we simply don't discriminate on any gender, age, anything. We don't see people like that. We employ the best people for the job at hand. And we, for example, have an unlimited paid vacation policy, which is important. So we trust people to take vacation when they see fit. And then our maternity leave policy is also extremely generous. We give people 12 months of maternity leave.
Geez, it's actually like your business is like very flexible on working.
Yeah, it's a self-correcting mechanism, because if you hire people that you don't think are going to be really great employees that would take advantage of that maternity leave policy or the vacation policy, then you shouldn't be hiring them in the first place.
Yeah. Do you think work environment matters in a job?
Oh, most definitely. So we try to create an entrepreneurial environment where new ideas can float to the top. We don't like all this big hierarchy where people's ideas are shouted down by layers and layers of management. So we want the best ideas to come to the fore. We want an innovative, ideas-based environment, and that's what we try to engender. So we have a very open office, for example. We don't like people sat in their offices, and we don't like voices not being heard. So we like a very open environment.
Cool. This question has been haunting consumer tech media blogs for the past about like 2 decades. What Mac OS or Windows?
So the open source guy inside me would always go for Linux actually as a server platform, and given that Mac OS is based on FreeBSD, then I'm a Mac guy. So out of I don't like the Windows registry. I've got to be honest with you. I've got to be honest with you. The trouble that Microsoft have had haunting them for years and years and years is they made a bad architectural decision 20 years ago with the Windows registry, and that's haunted them. People can hide viruses in there. It makes the operating system extremely unstable. But they've got a number of other great technologies beyond that. They're a close partner of WANdisco's actually, but the Windows OS was not the best OS, I have to say.
Yeah, they've tried to distance itself from it, I've noticed, because they haven't really been showing it off in their conferences. And
most things now are connected permanently to the internet, so storage and operating system becomes less important. So you should think of a PC or a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone as really a device, as a client device that's connected to the internet that talks to a server that happens to be a cloud platform somewhere.
Okay. And my last question, what's next for big data?
Well, machine learning and artificial intelligence are really interesting applications that are being built on top of data sets, and most organizations believe that they have to build out their portfolio of artificial intelligence machine learning applications. And we're going to see that increasingly happen in the world in the next, certainly in the next 5 years. A number of actuarial applications, for example, in insurance, healthcare, are all really hyperscale infrastructure, big data problems, and I would expect those problems to be solved largely in the cloud. So I think big data won't exist on premises in data centers built by companies anymore. I would expect that data to all live in the cloud with either Microsoft, Google, Amazon, or Alibaba.
Okay, thanks for coming. And I guess that's the end.
Thank you for taking the time. It's been really good to see you and the students enjoy the course so much. Thank you.
It's a great opportunity to actually interview David. This is the first time I've actually interviewed someone like this. I'd love your feedback in the comments below. Thanks guys, and I'd like to say thank you to the David and Jane Richards Foundation and my school for letting me have this opportunity. So bye guys.